Glad to do this in a time when there's still light. I'm actually glad I'm doing this in light. Excuse me, I just gotta relay one quick message to friends of mine about what I just saw. Let's see, close that window. There we go. Yeah, just got a Joker. Just got one small thing to say. Walking Phoenix scares me! And that's all she wrote. I'm actually surprised they actually did a 4 o'clock show for this thing. What do I say about this movie? I mean, I didn't hate it, that's the one thing. But at the same time, I don't know what to think of it. It's not the worst movie I've seen this year, and it's not a bad movie. It's well made. Todd Phillips directed it, and he's done comedies prior, so he's switching over to this more dramatic side of things. Here, I expected it to be somewhat close to Dog Day Afternoon and Falling Down, where said main character starts slowly eroding away to a more animalistic, savage state, and I like movies like that. I really do. You have Al Pacino's character in Dog Day Afternoon, who's in a hot situation, and he's just trying to get more interest and infamy when the media gets involved. Now this one situation just snowballs into a big thing. And I like stories like that. The one small thing that snowballs into a big thing. Falling Down, you have Michael Douglas's character, Defense. He just literally snaps because of how low life it is and how he feels he's mistreated from society and thinks he's getting this normal, perfect life when really it's more than just sitting back and letting the good things come your way. It's just... Instead, what I got was a Clockwork Orange, but more levels of dementedness. Ooh. What do I do? This is gonna be the most... Going into the weekend, what we have now, it's gonna be interesting seeing the reactions this movie is getting. It's gonna be interesting seeing not just the critical reactions, because I heard it's been getting positive to mixed reception, mostly in the positive range, but just the public itself. There was only 2 walkouts for the small crowd that I had. That was maybe like 10 or 12 people, including me. There was like a whole row of college kids during the end credits that were starting to analyze it. That was more interesting itself. No, I think it's all a dream, man. It's his way. Joaquin Phoenix, this is the most intriguing and yet disturbing of all the Jokers I have seen. I know we had Cesar Romero from the TV show, but he was the jokey kind, and he did it pretty well. Jack Nicholson, who everybody knows very well. My mother likes the Jack Nicholson Joker a lot, because he's funny and creepy at the same time, and that's what the Joker is. He's someone that literally takes black comedy and turns it on its head. It's both demented and funny at the same time. It's like Michael O'Donoghue if he donned a clown suit. And then you have Heath Ledger, who plays it up as a business... No, that's not the right word I'm looking for. He likes planning anarchy. The joke is he likes to twist society and literally shows a mirror to it. He is anarchy. He likes controlling chaos. All the Jokers do. Go figure. Jared Leto's probably the more forgettable of the bunch. Because, one, there's not too much of him, and he was one of the many things that Suicide Squad did not work on. He's just sort of there, just to dress up and be like this punked out version of the Joker. There's not really much of an identity there. This one, there is an identity. It's a whole movie based around him. It's a case where they're trying to look into the psyche of the villain and just see what plugs into him? What creates a creation like that? Okay, I'm down for it. I'm down for that kind of stuff. I like seeing how so many things can influence this person to turn in this whole other identity. Just make this whole switch. He could have been this normal person, but no, all these things happened to him. And now he's just really firing back and saying, hey, you want me to be like this? You got it. I think this is without a doubt one of the creepiest Jokers I have ever seen, bar none. I'm just so... You cannot take your eyes away from Joaquin Phoenix. It is the most disturbing, unsettling, creepiest thing I have ever seen. To compare that, you have Bill... Again, this is like apples and oranges, but you have Bill Skarsgård playing Pennywise, and Pennywise is playing it off more like Freddy Krueger, like playing around with his victims a little bit. Here, you just have no idea what this Joker is going to do. He's literally a caged animal. Is he going to strike? Is he going to sit there and look at you completely? This is not going to be an easy movie to recommend. It's a very disturbing movie. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I like the grungy look to it. I like how it's set in the world of Gotham City, this late 70s, early 80s kind of look, which had me for a loop for quite some time because I was trying to figure out the decade it was set in. But it does have that grungy 70s feel, like a dirty New York alleyway. But at the same time, there is this anarchic 80s feel, riots and things like that, and the fact that it was the middle class versus the wealthy class. This is in the trailer, so I can kind of give a little bit of it. But there's really not much of a story to this one. It's a guy that just slowly starts breaking down because of all these things that happen to him. And at the end, he just literally says, okay, you're going to do this to me, then okay, I'm going to become the thing that you did to me. It's just a creepy, unsettling movie, but it's a well-made, creepy, unsettling movie. I guess it really depends on your taste if you like things like that. That's where I mostly recommend it. But if you're expecting, something fun and delightful, this is not that kind of movie. This is a thinking movie. This is the kind where it's taking these properties and just making something of it. Like this big-budgeted art house kind of picture that has some sort of a message or a saying that this is what happens when you fall back on society instead of doing something. And I'm glad they do reference certain elements here and there, like the Killing Joke. You do see like a little bit of him doing stand-up and stuff. It's in the trailer. I can kind of give that away a little bit. At the same time, I kind of wish there was maybe a little more here and there. Like, maybe see a little more of that stand-up, a little more of this, a little more of that. There's a little running storyline. It's not big, but it's kind of sort of there where he falls one of the tenants, and the tenants shut him out for some odd reason. It's never really explained why, or unless I maybe have missed something, or it's played open-ended to the point you can kind of predict it to an extent. Or make your own assumption to an extent, my mistake. What do I even say about this movie? There are so many others before this that have this kind of mentality where you see this character that has his own view of society, and he just sort of twists around and wakes up and says, you know what? This is it. If they're going to kick me in the head, I'm going to kick them back in the head. It's supposed to be an origin film. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. This movie didn't break me. That's the important thing. It's not like Batman vs. Superman where there was so many things that were just aggravating me. This is a case where there's just so much stuff to look into and review and analyze that it might have to give me a little bit until I actually come with a full, final feeling towards this. Because there are some things I did like about it. There are some things that shock me, but for the right purposes. The whole thing with him being a clown and how that ties into his nature of becoming what he becomes, this psychopathic maniac that just sees death as a complete joke. I liked how they threw that in. The stuff with Robert De Niro as the late night talk show host, even though it's a very minor, small cameo, but it's very crucial to the storyline. I like how they worked that in there, because at that point, at that time frame, before the internet, that was really the big thing. Watching David Letterman and Johnny Carson, just see them late at night cracking jokes and stuff. That was really the pinnacle of comedy back then. Saturday Night Live, late night television. So using that really made sense here, especially for the time period they're going through. There were some things I wish they had a little more of, or maybe made a little more clear of, because there's something that the character's name's Arthur, but whatever. There are some things that Joaquin Phoenix's character does that sets into motion this giant, riot between the rich and the poor, and everyone's seeing it as this big movement ordeal. I kind of wish they would... Something about it just tells me I wish they developed that a little better, because you see little signs of that as the film goes along. There's a bit where after he does a stand-up routine, he looks out and a taxi passes by and you see a guy with a clown mask, and then later on the news reports it says, "Oh, riots are happening of this big movement." I kind of wish it snowballed that a little more better instead of just... I don't want to say it rushed into it. The build-up to it, it didn't really feel like a build-up. It felt like, oh, here's a little breadcrumb. Now, here's the whole cake. Something about it just... I wish that was developed a little better. The tragedy of the character is there instead of a failing comedian that, lost so much stuff. That's how they did it with The Killing Joke. Here it's much different. It's... Excuse me. Without giving too much away, this is someone who was literally placed into this world with nothing. He thinks he has something, and when he finds out he has nothing, he just sort of throws his hands up in there and says, okay, whatever, I'm going to do this because what is the purpose and point of, my existence? And I can see why studios are very tedious about movies like this, because they can reflect what's going on in today's world. Art can imitate life, and life can imitate art, so I can understand the tensions that are going on. I can understand why many movie theaters are very nervous about something like this. There's even, signs posted on the front saying you can't go in costumed or dressed up and stuff, and it's finally dawning on me as to why, because this is not that kind of movie. This is not Tim Burton's Batman or Dark Knight. This is a character study, but a very upsetting character study. A very well-done character study, I might add. So if you're going into this thinking that that's what you're going to get, the trailers are very much giving you this look into one guy that cracks because he has a very bad life, and so he literally decides to throw that back at. And that's just the whole movie in a nutshell. It's a series of things leading up to that big explosion, that mental blow-up that he has. But at the same time, the story could have been... Well, there's not really... Again, this is my problem. There's not much of a story, but if there was a story, I don't know how that would have helped or hurt the movie, because there are certain characters this Joker runs into, and I feel like that could have made a much bigger impact for the ending, and it kind of sort of doesn't. It does its own thing. That's really one issue I have with it, because I felt like when they set this element up, I thought it was going to go in this kind of direction, and it didn't. And that was a little disappointing, because it would have been predictable, but at the same time, it would have made so much sense, because I would have loved to see this as some kind of a prequel to Tim Burton's Batman. I get it, continuity, timeline, whatever, but it just would have been so interesting. Well, then again, it does look like this is more or less not the Tim Burton universe, but the Zack Snyder universe, because a theater plays Excalibur. They have posters for Excalibur or whatever, and they're actually playing Blow Up or Zorro the Gay Blade. This is a very anarchic movie. It starts off as a character study, and then it just turns into Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. And I love Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. The idea of what happens when hate and rage can create so much fighting back. This building tension of race and class and how it can explode into something big. And that's what I love about Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Which version? The unrated one, which I actually prefer better. And I like things like that. I like case studies. I like character studies that are diving into the psyche of this broken person and seeing exactly where it could have been mended, where things could have been mixed. Silence of the Lambs, another great example. Red Dragon, another perfect example. If you like those kinds of movies, you'll definitely like this one. And it's funny because I like stuff like that, but I can't put my finger on it. It's like, I grew up on Batman, for crying out loud. And to see the Joker... Oh yeah, Mark Hamill, I forgot. Great Joker. I'm sorry, Mark Hamill, I'm sorry. I loved you in Age of Resistance. How can I forget you? This movie is... Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because when you're so young and given these superheroes, you're so used to seeing them in that little time frame. That, you know, they're just them as they are in the animated series and everything. And then you get older and see it in this variation. It's like, what? Maybe that's the shocker right there. Maybe I wasn't prepared for this. Maybe I was not prepared for this switch. Even though I felt there was an inkling it wasn't going to go in this direction, I was still shocked at the directions it took with this feature. I still recommend it. I hope that means something. I didn't hate it. It might take me a few days to process whether I liked it or disliked it. I'm probably leaning a little more towards liked, but I still have some reservations with it in terms of the directions it goes into and some of the choices they make, mostly just story-wise and how it plugs into the whole thing. I wish they played around a little more with this dark, grungy 1980s Gotham City. But for the stuff with the Joker, it's good. It's really well developed. But at the same time, there's something... I feel like a little more could have been done. I don't know where, don't know how. It's getting dark outside. I'm gonna go before Killer Clowns from Outer Space abduct me and turn me into a cocoon cotton candy thing. So I'm gonna stop it there. Definitely check it out if you want a character psychological study. If you're looking for a colorful, fun superhero movie, this might not be your thing. It's a very bloody movie. So those are my thoughts, and see you around. Oh yeah, follow me on Twitter, MovieBell90, donate to my Patreon page, patreon.com/vaulting, follow my show at vaulting/group/official vaulting fan club. Yeah, that's all I got. Cheers. I am not gonna sleep tonight.